When great leadership seems in such short supply, can an African experiment championed by the legendary Archbishop Desmond Tutu offer any hope?
It is believed that you are people who can make a difference.
We share the same dream, and those who will come after us will also share that dream.
25 remarkable people promise to dedicate their talents to transforming the continent. Over the course of 5 months, they'll undergo intensive coaching in South Africa and the UK and have to show the results of their leadership on the ground.
Now, give me the victim.
It's uniquely designed to provoke,
I can't stand anymore listening to all this.
test,
We don't have to be friends to work together.
Okay. Disgusting, yeah? And what else?
unite,
I find him very special. He's special.
and empower them.
We can influence which road our nations go.
Power to the people.
My mind's racing with all sorts of dangerous thoughts.
I feel so challenged and motivated to go and start changing the world.
But reaching for great heights will mean addressing taboos and facing their innermost conflicts.
I can do this.
Is it okay for me to put my life on the line when I have the responsibility of these children?
For some, it's an experience that will alter their sense of direction in life. Among them, will we find Africa's leaders of tomorrow? These are Tutu's children. So far on Tutu's children, 25 top African professionals have arrived in Cape Town for a leadership retreat, each with their own idea of what the continent needs from their generation of leaders.
Equality and money. It's very simple. And that's where I'm very excited about marrying the sorts of business knowledge that I've had the privilege of being able to develop with the opportunities that still sit in this country.
Africa needs to know more about itself, to know more about the world. Africa also needs interconnectedness.
You can sit down. You can sit down. We really need to put the people of Africa, the African children or women or men, at the heart of whatever policies or initiative we're trying to do.
Africa needs positive stories, hope. Hope.
We need to stop feeling that the world owes us something. You know, if the world does owe us something, it's not going to pay it to us. It's not going to pay it back. So I think it makes sense for us to just write it off and move on. And so that's the kind of leadership we need.
By now, we've got a network of nearly 150 of these really young, dynamic, powerful young leaders.
They've been inspired by heroic examples to serve society.
Today was quite a pivotal moment. And, it just sort of tells me that the road ahead requires a lot of sacrifice.
But they're about to encounter heavy responsibilities and tough soul-searching on the road to great leadership.
Corruption of our morals.
That bluntness could be tempting.
Are you ready to lead your fellow citizens on the journey from subject to citizen?
Who's best at making money? Told to trade counters in a mock marketplace, the young leaders compete to make a profit. But the 3-hour-long game isn't about trading at all. The real aim is to expose their attitudes to power and privilege.
You don't understand?
Yeah, no, I'm not interested. I just want to agree.
Little do they know that some are predestined to get rich. Those in the square group are winning, not because they're better deal makers, but because the boxes are rigged in their favor.
No, seriously. And everybody's saying from 3 o'clock they never slept. Very loud, I'm telling you. Anyway, let's do business.
South African lawyer Ndumiso makes environmental scientist Andrew an offer he can't refuse.
Yeah, you don't have anything I want.
Are you prepared to trade a red for a green? Or you're not prepared to break your greens either? Otherwise, we start.
There's injustice in that, and I don't accept it.
It's an inherent injustice. There's nothing we can do about it. So what is it going to be, Andrew? You know what? The clock is ticking.
I tell you what. I'm going to do it just somebody got a benefit. And I'm screwed anyway, so next time.
Yes, I do. I'm not trading.
The golden rule is you must hold hands to negotiate. Even if you don't go through with a deal, you must keep holding hands till the end of the round. But rules are made to be broken.
No, let me give you blue, give me white.
So two blue for two red. Let me quickly explain. You're a banker. You get 30 in addition. You want to maximize your number of the same colors. Don't say no thank you, because look, now you get 3 whites, so which gives you a bonus.
If you're trading, you must hold hands.
Okay, let's hold hands.
You're not trading unless you're holding hands. You must be holding hands if you're trading.
I don't want to give out my green.
Okay.
I don't want to give out my green.
Julie.
80.
Vicky.
55.
Ziad.
125.
Swagi.
155.
The squares have won and are awarded an added privilege of setting new rules. But while deciding how to manage their wealth, rivalry almost gets the better of them.
We gave it to you the first time. We gave you everything the first time.
Look,
this is an African leader. No.
That's tough now.
Yeah. No, let's decide. Convince me.
Give one to Emmy, give the other
I give it to Swadi. I want to give it to him.
Give it to Emmy, give
Why
one to
don't you
Emmy.
want to give it to a boy?
Huh?
Why don't you want to give it to a boy? I'm just curious.
Oh, because it's good to have the women empowered in the group, no?
Yeah, but seriously, I mean, he needs to give one to this guy. Because as a group, we gave him everything. Yeah, no, why he's just... Come on. There's a bully here. For example. You don't need to be too greedy. This is what we're talking about African leaders. African leaders, they want everything. Come on, Zee.
Ugandan MP Vincent spots the square's unfair advantage.
It's not coincidence that all the gays who end up with the squares have high values. That's not coincidence. It means the boxes have the 60 rand in there.
But when the underprivileged send envoys to the powers that be to make the case for fairer rules, a defiant approach proves unpopular.
In terms of discussion, as follows, that in the end there must be a reasonable agreement between them and us. If they do not, we will strike.
So, Matthew, you're not allowed to talk about striking. Welcome to the World Bank.
We don't want to be locked into trades.
For Dr. Alan Zimbler, an expert in the psychology of organizations, their response to injustice offers unexpected insights.
That discourages people from trading.
It's very interesting that both representatives have come in asking quite reasonably for changes in the rules. It's a bit unusual because normally they would be a little bit more upset about what's happening.
We feel we are operating in a very disadvantaged position.
We're trying to get ideas from you as to how to change the rules.
Yeah. So the squares are saying we're advantaged, we don't like it, we're just uncomfortable with this advantage. We feel that it's not right. So they're not maximizing the capitalism that they could do here.
Yeah. That's it, yeah. Thank you, guys. Bye.
But just assuming power will go to their friends' heads, the disillusioned poor brace themselves.
But there's no room for negotiation, so to say. So the decision is there, so we'll wait and see what they say.
Their conscience is that they want to maintain the status quo. That's what they want. And so they actually, these guys are sharks.
The wait over, they gather to hear the new rules.
We thank you for the feedback and...
As well as removing the original rules, the privileged announce a welfare state.
In order to make sure that we had like a net and we had a welfare system, the lowest scores in the room will be allocated the black chips.
To the poorest in the room. Not in the group, in the room.
In the room. In the room.
In the room.
Gee, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
But new values of currency which make the rich richer are non-negotiable.
These are the rules. These are decided, so you are not in any.
So what does all this mean for when they actually reach positions of power?
The worst example I've seen in this exercise, if you really want to know how bad it can get, was the squares decided that when they came back into the trading floor, everyone else had to kneel down with their boxes open, and the squares would take what they wanted. So, congratulations to the squares, because the mere fact that they debated the whole issue of equity and they debated the issue of wealth, well done.
You have an unfair advantage in terms of the knowledge and skills that you have when you're trading with somebody who has less knowledge than you. What came out of that was a potential interesting argument. Well, too bad, that's the marketplace. And the other argument is, no, not tough, actually that is stealing.
We really try to behave and be against the Kenyan-Nigerian axis, which is really, for me, is the axis that like soaking all kind of wealth wherever they can find it. But to be more serious, I think, and this is something that I want all the leaders to realize, that the presence of two women really played a big role to secure equality, to secure that the voice of the weakest were heard.
I hope that at least we'll remember the exercise when we are one day, hopefully in positions of power, as to how hard it is to be in power. Much harder to make the wise decisions from a position of power, even than when you're the victim in a helpless position.
The responsibility that comes with power now dawns on them.
There was no exit doors. So it made me think about the people who are in that abject poverty.
The fact that the stigma is there, you are number last, you are the wife of the dog.
It does not make sense for you to give up your competitive advantage.
Nobody's going to watch your back for you. It's your responsibility to understand the rules and play them.
It's very difficult to let go of power when you have it in your hand.
As a visit to their celebrated patron, Archbishop Tutu, approaches, the young leaders are paid a visit by one of his comrades from the days of South Africa's black empowerment struggle. Anti-apartheid activism earned Dr. Mamfela Rampele banishment, imprisonment, and the death in police custody of her partner, leading activist Steve Biko.
Citizens in many of Africa's countries take pride in the opulence of their leaders. Because they are opulent, therefore, I am okay.
Though 2 decades now since the triumph of democracy, she fears that unless young Africans become politicized once again, some of the gains of her generation will go to waste.
We did work together then, so what's changed?
And she's here with her sister to reach out to the young leaders for help to overcome a new age of disempowerment.
We were seduced by our icon leader, Mr. Mandela. We thought everything is going to be fine. And of course, when you are in the presence of greatness, you do feel fine. When you cede your power and your abilities to a movement or a party or a leader, you really are left empty. I know that many young African leaders say, oh, politics is dirty, I can't do anything. Sorry, being a citizen is by its definition being political. Now, if you say politics is dirty, I don't have anything to do with it, you are therefore saying, go right ahead and be a despot, you've got my permission.
Quiet Rwandan entrepreneur Lydie a somewhat reluctant leader, relates to her message, believing that her country's saving grace since the genocide has been the president's move to foster citizenship.
I think this really represents what my country, Rwanda, has been through. It takes the vision of one person, I think, again I'll say it, to have that, to stand for it, and have others follow. And I think it's up to us today to really decide what we want to do right from leaving this place. You know, what we will do when we go back.
Are you ready to lead your fellow citizens on the journey from subject to citizen? Are you ready to leave your comfort zone at the personal level and become the wounded healer? It is up to your generation of leaders to build a great continent. You have the choice. Thank you.
We glorify your holy name. We bow before you. We glorify your holy name. We bow before you. We glorify your holy name.
She's just so overwhelmingly exceptional.
That's it. And the fact that it's about the basics, that's it for me. Because sometimes we complicate things so much, and it's all about the basics.
No, I'm so glad she came because, you know, she brought us back to the essential.
Yes.
I think she did.
I love your president. I think he's a great visionary.
There you go.
So
You're welcome.
much. I am always thrilled to see leadership development programs. But I know this is a leadership development program with a difference. And the difference really is about that values-driven leadership style. And I know that people who go through this training are going to make a difference in the various countries where they go to.
Coming from woundedness to dignity, and this is really what we're trying to do in Rwanda. We've come to this horrible story, but we don't want to be identified to that. You know, let's forget about it. You know, not forget, but let's move on. You know, let's move on and think about, you know, how do we create that sense of dignity.
Liddy's family was devastated by the loss of 30 aunts, uncles, and cousins in the genocide. She finds the call to help Africans move on from the painful past intensely moving. It's what first drove her to go into business.
On this wall, we have the names of people who were killed during the genocide. It's been 18 years now, and those are the ones that were found, and they are buried in this grave. Most of the time when I come here, the thought that I have in my mind is really about never again. And it's really our role as the next generation to make sure that this doesn't happen again. In the work that I'm trying to do, for example, with the youth, is really to bring out that positive energy that I have in myself and also share with them the story of hope for the new Rwanda, really. It's not easy when people, they've lost so much, but at the same time, we have to do it. But I can do this. During the genocide, I was living in Chad. I'd lived there for the past 10 years, and then I came back right after in 1995. I realized that reading books was not really a priority, and most of the books around were very, very expensive, especially the new books. So that's how I decided really to open a small shop selling used books, my own books. And how do you like using this book? I think what was needed really at that time is for them to see a new future, to see hope in that future. We are going to leave and let you continue studying. Thank you. I feel so challenged and motivated to go and start changing the world, you know?
Oh, fine.
It's the day the group will meet their Nobel Prize-winning patron, a man who, without ever holding political office, has inspired generations with his fearless advocacy of social justice across Africa and far beyond.
It hits you now, you're a Tutu fellow, because this is where you get stumped. By meeting him and by creating the special bonding with someone who is a symbol for Africa, and history is gonna remember him for decades. And somehow he's trusting you with his legacy a little bit. No? I don't think a lot of Tunisians got to meet Desmond Tutu, so I feel that this is gonna be following me my whole life.
The mentors hope meeting Tutu will be a major turning point, transforming socially minded businessmen and professionals into servant leaders completely dedicated to Africa's success. But even before they get there, Mark, a highly successful banker from Cape Town, has an epiphany.
I'm living my bubble in Cape Town where I'm comfortable, my family's comfortable, I'm safe. I'm not interested in the rest of Africa. What you hear about a country like Nigeria is negative things. So my perception has been negative around Nigeria. There's so many brilliant people in Nigeria that if we can work together as Africans, it can work. Sorry. I feel no, but it's true. I'm just being, my perception has been negative. Nigeria,
of Nigeria.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. So I was saying the total opposite. Addressed to her.
Yeah, but that's a view which is uneducated. So you see Nigeria as, and I mean we see it in South Africa. You get SMSs from people in Nigeria. You've won the UK lottery.
They're not. It's mostly Russia and China. It's not us.
See the perception. Again, it's a perception. I've got no idea about Africa. Zero. Which is scary. Massive realization.
And beyond anyone's expectations, the meeting with Tutu brings out even more emotional insights. It's the day the young Africans meet the patron of their leadership scheme, Archbishop Desmond Tutu. The legendary 81-year-old comes out of his office to greet each of them personally.
Jambo, bienvenue. Umsta.
Jambo.
Fuhaner Buji. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Who wants what?
No, I will leave and serve them, but you must sit down.
I have to show off my humility. Come, Holy Spirit, fill the hearts of thy faithful people, kindle in them the fire of thy love. Young people will be going forth. Send forth thy Spirit, and they shall renew the face of the earth. Amen. Sweeties, you've been given this fellowship because it is believed that you are people who can make a difference. Please, allow old men like us to go to our graves smiling. Please. I finished.
What were
words of advice would you have for young people across the continent to just inspire and motivate them?
You've got to try to find a way of giving them a sense of dignity. You are bright enough to say, what are the things that our people need? Things that are going to help lift them and at the same time be making money first for me and then for them too.
In my university in Seattle, I had to simultaneously translate you into Arabic when your friend the Dalai Lama was next to you. Simultaneously translating you was not an easy job, and now when I hear you talking, I remember that. But,
now, is that a compliment? Or he's giving me a nice kick?
My question is about your message to the young people who did what we call now the Arab Awakening or the Arab Spring. How do you see the young people should be working to build their new countries, organizing the relationship between building their new democracy and religion?
Religion is like a knife. If I put a knife on the table, that knife is neither bad nor good. Morally, it is neutral. I can take that knife and stick it in your gut. I'm using that knife badly.
As Tutu shares his thoughts, one of the young leaders is quietly on the brink of emotion.
I'm sorry. I saw you speak at the Oxford Union in 1993, and it was before the election. There was a lot of violence, and the Oxford Union's a debating society full of bright young, people, and they were asking you difficult questions. And one of the questions was, how do you explain the black-on-black violence in South Africa? And your answer was, well, first of all, why are you calling it black-on-black violence? And you went on to talk about explaining the intricacies of the situation and, putting them on the back foot. But that had such a profound effect on me because it was the beginning of my regaining pride in myself as a black person. It was a huge gift that you gave to me that I've carried till today. And I'm not an emotional person at all. I'm so sorry. But I just wanted to thank you because it really was the beginning of me regaining my pride as a black person. So thank you.
We seem to have forgotten in a way where we come from. What is the matter with us now? Are we cursed? No. Our continent desperately, desperately needs you.
Dad, I'm not sure whether we should call you father or grandfather.
If you respected me, grandfather.
Elected to speak on the group's behalf, Ndumiso makes the Archbishop a pledge.
We would like to first thank you very much for the inspiring words and wisdom that you've shared with us. We promise that even though you want to be allowed to go to rest in peace, the dream that you and your compatriots had will actually live much longer than you will, and we share the same dream, and those who will come after us will also share that dream.
I will come and haunt you. No, I'll come back to celebrate with you.
And on a cool April morning in Cape Town, Desmond Tutu passes on the duty of Africa's moral leadership to 25 very different people. Great things are now expected of them.
I have no doubt at all that we will look back on occasions such as this and say, that was when I got the spark, not just to be for me.
The morning after meeting Archbishop Tutu, there's a noticeable change in the air.
For me, the very unique thing that happened yesterday, I was talking a lot about passing the baton to the younger generation. The mood this morning was very reflective.
Organizational psychologist Dr. CARYN Solomon believes in the profound benefits for leaders of sharing feedback. It's a method she pioneered during the dying days of the apartheid regime to integrate the first black managers into the workplace.
Pick 3 people in the room that you would like to get some feedback from.
If it's successful, they'll learn to act as mirrors for one another as they rise in their leadership positions.
30, you both got 30 for natural child.
For natural child?
Yeah.
Shall we have a look at what your scores are saying?
Ndumiso, a South African businessman, has been waiting nervously to hear the views of his peers.
You don't need to speak loudly or even say certain things to have authority. You've just got it because of the space you take up in the room.
Ndumiso spoiled my shoes, and I fell down. At that point, I was a child. And I expected him to offer to buy me new shoes. And he says it's a contact sport. You know, but he's got a reason for everything, actually.
You almost took a big brother position in the group.
There's just this incredible air of authority about you, a natural, divine, God-given gift or whatever that you have.
I find you very special. You're special.
Strangers only days ago, such directness seems to be closing the distances between them.
Okay, Swati.
She doesn't seem to care about all the emotional fluff, you know, hard, cold facts. That is where the game is, i.e., we don't have to be friends to work together.
Maybe sometimes that bluntness could be tempered.
If I were to look for a boss amongst everybody here, I think you should be the best boss that I can work with. And I see you even make the work of your subordinates easier. Honestly, I'll be glad to work with you. And since you're living in Nigeria, maybe you need to hire me.
We're building a culture here, a way of being together. And feedback is a way of keeping a community integrated and honest. It could be a very slow journey. The skills are no longer helping you get there.
What they don't know is that CARYN's motivation to help change Africa's fortunes comes from her own personal experiences of a very different South Africa.
People who were members of the Black consciousness movement and the struggle actually passed through our house in the middle of the night on the way out the country. And my parents were helping with that. And then when I grew up, I did the same.
What's been hard?
It was known that I had an adopted black sister. But what it wasn't known was the political involvement of my family, because it would have put them at risk. It's absolutely core to who I am. I feel incredibly hopeful. I do see grounded, adult, rational, thoughtful people who are capable of good judgment and good problem solving. I don't see a lot of the sort of cliche of authoritarianism.
The heavenly landscape of Stellenbosch belies its uglier past as the cradle of the oppressive apartheid system of government. But amidst the rolling hills, Montfleur has a history of bringing leading minds together to reimagine a more positive future.
Some of the work that was going on in South Africa before the end of apartheid was being done by all sorts of people, academics, business people, politicians, activists, lawyers, trying to think up not only how do we create change, but how do we create change in a long-term sense. And they got together and they came to Montfleur and they went through a whole series of scenarios. What are the possible outcomes for this country? Can we imagine alternative futures? And that became known as the Montfleur scenarios.
Some of these big things that have happened.
Now it's the turn of Tutu's children to work out some best and worst case scenarios for the Africa of 2030.
So you're taking a very, very big picture view of Africa and, as I say, picking up the main points that you would pick up if you were a historian looking back from 2030.
But talking of Africa as a single entity presents an instant problem.
The countries have become so different that how are we going to tackle that? Because the issues that South Africa is facing, totally different from Rwanda, totally different from Chad. By talking about Africa, I think it becomes a little bit confusing.
If you think about the USA, it's a similar argument, right? Yeah. It's the same area, space of land. It has equal differences, and yet you can still create a strategy for the... But it doesn't matter. It might not have been a country. It decided to be a country.
It's the last day of leadership coaching in South Africa till Tutu's children meet again in the UK in 4 months' time.
It seems there are things that we're not being told about what's going to happen in Oxford, because we keep hearing, oh, we won't mention this now, we'll tell you later, you know. I'm excited and a bit apprehensive, and we'll see how it goes.
Media entrepreneur Ziad has some concerns about a passion of his he feels is being overlooked.
As a physician, you can treat only one person. I realized that maybe public health will allow me to work with more people and try to improve the lives of communities. With the revolution, I realized that people wanted to know more about what is happening in their country, and hence why I started also the media project with a couple of friends. The background is that the military wanted to fight. So Tunisia Live is a website, is a news website that has a 2.0 approach. Magazine and online news. I come here every morning and I have half an hour when I give messages to the population, tips, health tips. People also interact with me. They either send comments on Facebook or basically send me even tweets sometimes. I went more into media to gain these skills to communicate with the masses and also to get the pulse of the country. Definitely maybe a multitasker, fan of technology. I'm always looking at the screen some way. That's something people sometimes blame me for. Social media is dear to me. So I asked Peter to give me some time, he gave me half an hour to do a little presentation.
Ahead of a leaving party that night, Swadi, CEO of an all-female tea company, works on a top-secret presentation. But just as home beckons and everyone starts to unwind, a guest arrives with a tough warning.
Thank you very much for the invitation. There is no shortage of people who are analyzing Africa. What is the problem? Corruption of our morals in such a fundamental and such a dramatic way that no matter how hard we try, we cannot realize our potential.
Patrick Lumumba knows how hard it will be for the young leaders to resist temptation. He was recently removed from his job as Kenya's anti-corruption chief, some say for being too effective.
Because the expectation is that when you get into public office, then you are required, indeed, to use your office for the purpose of personal benefit. That when you swim in the ocean, whether you like it or not, some water will find its way into your mouth. That is how we rationalize all these things. Until we begin to interrogate the individuals that we place in positions of leadership, Africa is going nowhere.
A Kenyan MP once complained that had Lumumba had prosecution powers, no one would have been left in parliament. His warning makes a strong impression.
These are the questions that we must ask ourselves as individuals who have the privilege and at once the advantage of occupying positions of influence.
Hearing Lumumba moved South African lawyer Ndumiso to consider his own career path.
Obviously, the biggest enemy that one wants to deal with is corruption, the rise of authoritarianism. In 10 years' time, 15 years' time, I may actually decide to go back to practicing law.
The other luxury of lethargy we cannot afford. And I believe that initiatives such as these, if properly used, if properly applied, can begin to usher Africa in the right direction.
Before the party, social media fanatic Ziad corners his peers about their failure to harness the tools of their age. In some cases, he's preaching to the converted. TV host Julie and newspaper boss Rugiendo already have massive followings, but Ziad worries about African leaders with no social media presence at all.
This training was lacking a little bit of that. And also the leaders themselves, the young leaders, were not really aware of how powerful this tool can be. And the first days I asked them to write Twitter usernames, thinking that everybody was already on Twitter, you know, you can't be selected in the program if you're not. And I was surprised. I could have done much better if I had more time.
At the leaving party, Swadi's surprise gift to the group is well received. And the young leaders get to put aside Africa's dilemmas for another day. As they each prepare to return to their lives, having completed half the course, Tutu's children try to define its influence so far.
The question that I'm asking myself at the moment are really, what is my purpose on earth? Really, what am I passionate about? Why do I do what I'm doing now? Is it to help the youth? Is it to make money? I haven't got all the answers.
Try to cut down my list of 20 things I thought I wrote down to do during these last 5 or 6 days. And I cut it down to 15, so I haven't done a massively good job in screening that all. I almost feel a bit embarrassed about wondering whether I would feel part of the group based on the experiences this week. Closing rank. Some of them even commenting that I behaved more African than some of the other South Africans. So that was good to hear.
The feedback that I received from my colleagues was overwhelming. And quite frankly, I don't know how to deal with it. It's positive reinforcement, but at the same time, I felt a bit of weight on, on my shoulders. I mean, I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed.
But while you're doing that, I believe that the beauty of human beings is our differences. And I would have actually found it dangerous if the Montfleur program was trying to mold us towards one type of leadership. They gave us the space to really think or firm up, actually, what leadership is for each of us individually.
That meeting with Archbishop Tutu was really a transforming moment. I remember his sentence when he said, "I'm gonna come back and haunt you." And I feel like everybody's already haunted in a positive way by the mission that they have to accomplish, at least by being aware leadership is a responsibility and that you have to deliver.
Controversy? No, I would like to see more controversy. I think it's early days. I think they're still being a bit polite. Maybe one of us needs to step in there and be a bit of a devil's advocate or something and stir the pot a little bit.
Next time, the young leaders are challenged to put their ideals into practice on the ground.
Guess what?
But reality bites. And when they reunite in England, taboos are well and truly broken.
I don't actually have to forgive in order to move on.
We, young African leaders, reject that notion of African leadership.
Is it okay for me to put my life on the line when I have the responsibility of these children?